to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. Well, it's a very exciting and a big show this week. For those of you that have been regularly tuning in over the last 12 months, you'll know that this is our happy birthday show. It's celebrating my very, very first year, 12 months to be exact, here on A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV. And it's always nice when we get to a milestone like that where we understand that things that have gone on in the last 12 months and where we've led to now. So hopefully I've improved slightly since we first started. I hope I have, because it's all about you. It's all about trying to inform you and help educate you and help give you the answers to some of those questions that you may have been troubling you over the time in your lifetime as you open yourself up to spiritual and psychic development. And sometimes it's just nice to get someone else's perspective that you can say, yes, I can relate to that. And that makes it all worthwhile. The first thing that I teach all of my students, as I have done over my many, many years of teaching, is if it feels right for you, adopt it. If it doesn't, dismiss it. Because we all learn at a different rate and we all need to put different things in our toolkit. So it's with a heavy heart this week that I start the show off with asking everybody to join hands and be silent for just a split second as we remember some people around the world. And I'd like to start here in Australia first if I can. We had a cyclone over the weekend that hit Darwin. Luckily no lives were lost, but a lot of homes and a lot of people left without food, water and shelter. Then we also had over the weekend some terrible fires in Tathra in New South Wales. Again, luckily no lives were lost, but families in great devastation after these terrible natural tragedies that have happened here in Australia. Then next we move to the US, and again I really feel quite sick in my heart to say that we've had another shooting at a school over there in Maryland, which came over the news this morning here in Australia. So I'm sure there's probably been losses of life. I hope there hasn't, but I only caught the tail end of it, so my apologies for that. But also the bombings in Texas. I mean, really, when is this all going to stop? Can't we start to learn to live in a world where we don't have to keep destroying each other? I think it's really quite a tragedy. So if we could hold them in our prayers and our hearts and our wishes for the next week and beyond, I think that would be the one little thing that we could collectively do as a spiritual community. So this leads me on to the card of the week, and I want to sort of rev things up here. I want things to be exciting and a little bit more positive than opening the show on a tragedy again. So this week the card of the week is actually the Wheel of Fortune, and the Wheel of Fortune is elevation in money or overseas trip. Well, both of those would be nice, I'm sure. Everybody would be very happy to have an elevation in money and possibility of an overseas trip or a long-distance travel. So it brings me to the next part of the show, which I'm going to sort of not talk about the candle just yet. I want to talk about what's happening astrologically. I want to zip straight into our little glimpse around the universe because we have a lot to discover this week. First and foremost, it's Happy Equinox Day around the world, and what that means is the sun goes over the equator and it now actually heads towards the northern hemisphere of where you guys go into your spring and summer. Here in the southern hemisphere, we go into autumn/winter, and it's where the sun is less dominant in the southern hemisphere. So it's a very important day, but for me personally, it's the most important day of my year because it's the astrological start to the new year. It's when the sun will move into Aries and it's like bingo, things start to come alive. Things start to become fresh and new and exciting, and we all get revved up and we get excited about maybe some possibilities of things that we can bring into our lives. It's like opening a brand new book and saying, okay, this is a brand new book that we're going to be making entries in for the coming 12 months. So the sun in Aries does mean that it's sort of a little bit of a selfish time where we do sort of start to consider our own needs a little bit more. We can be fiery and outspoken. That's for every sign, not just Aries. And we also need to be aware that we do put our listening ears on. Now, this leads me into my favourite segment, when we talk about this 3 times a year, Mercury going retrograde. Well, who in the hell is Mercury and why does he go retrograde and why do I care? Well, we all need to care about Mercury going retrograde, unfortunately. Mercury is the planet of communication, and he does his little dance where he goes backwards 3 times a year for approximately 3 times a year for about 3 weeks at a time. He's actually in Aries this year, so this is going to make communication a little bit more definite, a little bit more selfish, and a little bit more I'm not listening to you type mode, because my needs are more important than yours, and so is my communication. So we all have to be very, very conscious of this, because Mercury is asking each and every one of us to really do put our listening ears on and do consider the other person. Yes, our needs are important, but also the other person that we're dealing with or communicating with, their needs, their wants, their wishes, and their need to be heard is also equally as important as ours. So Mercury will remain retrograde from the 22nd of March, or March 22 if you're in the US of A, through to April 15, or the 15th of April here in Australia. So it's approximately 3 weeks. So during this time, I urge you not to sign any contracts, any major pieces of information that you might need to go over. Make sure you go over them very thoroughly, not once, not twice, maybe 6, 10 times. Make sure you fully understand everything. If you have to sign a contract and you can't get out of it until after the 15th of April, then please make sure that you read it out aloud. I always find if you read something out aloud, you quite often sort of, oh, hang on a minute, I would have missed that bit. And you go back and you correct it. This is the time when contracts can have the wrong figures written on them. People sign things that they don't understand. It's not the perfect time to send that important parcel or letter or email, because quite often communication will get lost. And this is in all forms of communication, even with our modern forms of communication of text messages and Skypes and emails and all those sort of things. Just be very aware, double check things if you're posting things or sending things on a courier, that all the addresses are correct and telephone numbers and so on, and that you've got everything correct. It is the time when luggage will go missing if you're travelling. So it's not a fun time, and it's also the time when all our electronic gadgets, including computers and mouses and devices and iPads and iPhones and you name it, can sometimes break down or have their little glitches with their software. So please be aware of this and make allowances for it. Can I suggest, if you're travelling, it would be a really good idea to triple check your travel itinerary before you leave home and make sure that you've left in plenty of time, because there will be some frayed tempers. Now, that also leads me to Mercury's holding hands or conjunct Venus for the next few days. And this is really interesting because Venus is the planet of love and affection. And we've already established what Mercury's role is. So this is maybe not the time to bring up that important relationship issue or that question that you want to ask that particular someone that needs to be sort of thrashed out or put on the table or up for discussion. I think I'd be more inclined to be leaving it for another day, another couple of weeks actually. I'd be leaving it, but that's your choice. But you have to be aware that sometimes people won't see it from your point of view because their own needs are overtaking what you're trying to share with them. So I suggest, if you have to have a serious conversation with somebody you love or somebody that you have a loving energy towards, and that can just be somebody that we're friends with, somebody that we get on well with at work. We're not necessarily in love with them, but we share a very satisfying, gratifying sort of, congenial relationship with. Just make sure that the conversations are clear, that they fully understand what you're trying to share with them. And it might seem a little bit silly to double check and say, did you understand that? And they might turn and stop for a minute and say, now hang on a minute, can you back up to this point? And that sort of just gives them the opportunity to not look foolish, but you've asked them, you're fully on board with what I've just said. Is there anything else that I need to elaborate on? So it's just triple checking that everybody fully understands. And that's really important, particularly in times like this with communication. We really need to be aware of that. Now, because it is my the first show's birthday, I thought this week I would actually feature my Simply Astrology book. For those of you that want to know a little bit more about astrology but don't want to take it up as a full-blown course, you will find this in the store at amandahallpsychic.com.au. It has already been marked down on special for the show. But if you type into the code at the coupon box at the checkout, type in the word radio in capital letters, you will get a discount on any purchase that you make on our web store. This leads me into the candle that I've chosen for this week. And interestingly enough, no, I didn't particularly choose this because of the tragedies around the world. I actually have a list of where I had the formula for the show probably 6 months in advance of what I'm going to be talking about and what subjects and what candles we'll be featuring. It's only the card of the week do I choose on the day. So interestingly enough, I already had scheduled for this week my candle for loss, which is called My Angel in the Sky. Now, the reasons why we brought this candle out was there was many times people came to me and said, oh, Amanda, I'd really like it if we had a particular candle that we could use to celebrate the loss of my father, my mother, to have something special at the dinner table at Christmas time or Easter or birthdays or anniversaries, or just a particular candle that I can burn regularly that I have, set up next to the photos of the loved ones that are no longer with us. And I want it to be something special. So I really did tune into my guides and asked for their suggestions on what we should call this, and in the middle of the night I got woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning, which is invariably when they give me my answers, and I was shown My Angel in the Sky. And I thought, now that's a very fitting name for a candle, because if somebody was to walk past it, yes, they subliminally know what it means, but at the same time it's not in your face. It's got a very gentle smell. It's a white candle. It's a beautiful candle. I burn mine quite regularly. I, like everybody else on the planet, once you get to a certain age, you've had quite a bit of loss in your life. So My Angel in the Sky is my suggested course for this week on candles. And of course, we have our mini pack here of the 3 travel size candles that you can take with you on holidays or take with you to that special occasion. I quite often burn these around the house at Christmas time. I might have half a dozen of them going in different locations when the family gather for the Christmas festivities. And then that way the house smells beautiful, but it's not taking up a lot of room on my table. So that's my suggestion this week for the soy candle of the week. Now, this also leads us into our next section that we're going to be talking about, which is our 3rd part in our health series. Each week I feature a little astrology lesson. We've been working with health in the last few weeks, and the health part of what I'm working with in astrology relates to your sun sign. It doesn't relate to any other part of the chart. This is just the day that you were born, your star sign or your zodiac sign, and it relates to a part of the body which on an astrological level is seen as your weak spot or the area that you need to take more consideration and look after. So interestingly enough, this week we're moving on to Libra, Scorpio and Sagittarius. Now, when I first looked at Libra many, many years ago, and I thought, well, how could they have anything wrong with them? They always seem to be immaculately dressed, and they're so pretty and loving and kind and gentle sort of people. And, they don't like raised voices, and they like everything to be sort of just nice and calm. How could they have anything physically wrong with them? But as I started to learn astrology a little bit more, I started to discover that there were certain parts of the body related to certain star signs. And with Librians, it's interestingly enough, it's the kidneys. And they really do need to make sure that they get adequate water in their diet. And I know for a lot of people, they say, oh, I don't like the taste of water. It really isn't me. I'd rather have it flavoured with coffee or tea or something else. I can relate to that. For many, many years, I wasn't a water drinker. And I remember when I first started deciding that maybe I needed to put more water into my body than coffee, that it was like drinking poison. And I used to stand there and hold my nose and take a mouthful, and I'd nearly want to spit it back out again. Then someone suggested to me, why don't you put a piece of fruit in there? It actually changes the taste of the water. And I thought, oh, yeah, look, I'll do anything. And it was interesting how well it worked. One day I'd put oranges in there, the next day it was lemons or strawberries or cucumber or whatever fruit and veg I had in the fridge. And it did take the taste of the water, that I actually began to like water. And before too long, within a couple of weeks, my body was actually craving water, and I was reaching for water quicker than I was coffee. Now, I'm talking about I had a serious coffee addiction, 30 cups a day, nothing short of that in my household. The coffee percolator was continually on, and I mean on. It wasn't just, put the percolator on and be ready for when you want a coffee. No, I had one that just kept perking all day, electric one that, you just kept adding to it, so that you always had coffee ready. As you walked past the kitchen, you grabbed another cup. And it was interesting. I started to notice I was less and less reaching for the coffee and more reaching for water. Well, that's a long time ago now. And, I now only drink 1 cup of coffee a day and many, many glasses of water. And yes, now I can drink it straight. I drink it straight out of the tap or out of the plastic bottle. So, it's interesting how our bodies change. And no, I'm not a Libra. So Librians really do need to focus on looking after their kidneys and also their emotional well-being in as much as their nervous system. They really do need to sort of take up things or look at things like meditation, yoga, relaxing. They need to learn the art of relaxation. We move on to the next sign, which is Scorpio. Now, Scorpios always get a lot of bad press about what they do and what they don't do in their lives. And because it is a very intense and a very fixed sign, and it is a sign that is governed by emotions, it's no surprise that when we start to delve into the Scorpio energy and we start to look at the area of the body that it might affect, we come to the reproductive organs and also the tummy areas. Now, we're talking about, you know, matters of elimination here. You know, people having trouble with elimination problems, not being able to go to the bathroom as many times a week as they think should be normal, that sort of thing. So when a Scorpio says to me, oh, I've got trouble with my tummy, I immediately know that they're not processing some emotional issue, whether it's something that's going on in their life or whether they're thinking too much or worrying too much about it. What happens then? Because they are a fixed sign, they hang on to everything, including the waste products of our body that need to be released. And it's not until they start to relax do those waste products start to make their way through the normal processes and leave the body. So if you are a Scorpio, please keep your eyes on that. And whether you're male or female, it affects the reproductive organs of both sexes, not just females. So just be aware if you're sort of feeling like you've got a little bit of fluid retention or your tummy's a bit overfull, look at what other things are going on in your life and what things that you might need to change. So the next sign that we're going to be working with this week is Sagittarius. And of course, me being a Saggy, I sort of tend to think, why would a Sagittarian have many problems? They're usually too busy trying to get outdoors and get on with life and travelling and, you know, learning foreign languages and just having a great time. Well, yes, all of those things are very true. But with the Sagittarian, interestingly enough, they have problems with their hips and their thighs. And that may very well come from them being half man and half beast, and maybe the joints aren't properly formed. I think it's partly that, but I also think it's because they do everything at such a fast pace and because they are such an outdoorsy sort of person and probably don't watch where they're walking, that this tends to create imbalances in their body like that, and they tend to have more sporting injuries and injuries from just basically being in too much of a hurry, more so than other signs. So it's something to watch out for if you're Saggy. You will have troubles with hips and thighs. It's something that's a genetic thing if you want to look at it that way on an astrological level. So we're going to be taking our first caller now, and it is Suzanne in, I better put, I know it's Florida, but it's Pensacola in Florida. Are you there, Suzanne? How can I help you, sweetie?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
Very well, thank you, sweetie. What's your question?
Well, I don't know how to ask this. I've been trying to get a divorce for over a year. I sent the papers and haven't heard from him but one time via text message about a month ago. No papers, no communication. Kind of want to know the outcome of my relationship with my husband.
So you've been trying to get a divorce for over 12 months and he's what, not acknowledging the fact that he's got any paperwork, won't sign anything? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, he got it. He's just holding on to them.
Yeah, so he's not acknowledging the fact that you want a divorce and we should all move on.
Right.
Yeah, but that could be partly control too. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know that he particularly wants to be married to you any more than you want to be married to him. But was he a control freak during the course of your marriage? Was he the one that always had to have the last say? Everything had to be in his time frame?
Yes.
Yeah, well, all he's doing is continuing the same pattern. I know you will get divorced. I think you need to go back to your legal person and ask them, you know, how long is the piece of string that, you know, before we can sort of move this forward without his cooperation. There would have to be something written into the Constitution locally that how long you can avoid not agreeing to get a divorce. I mean, you know, they can't leave it indefinitely. No one does. Each state and each country has different time frames on that. But when you were speaking to me about the question at the beginning, I got the symbol to me, which means ending. So I'm taking it. I don't think it's going to be much further. I think you should be happily divorced by June this year. That's what I'm being shown. So I think things can move fairly quickly. But I think he's just doing this to sort of have the last say. It's like he's not giving you this because you asked for it. You know, if it had been him that was asking for it, it'd be a different thing, and it would have been all done, you know, day one.
Yeah.
So it's just
he actually asked for it, and then when I sent them, it was like, I guess he couldn't believe that I sent them. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. So you were supposed to come back crying and begging and asking him to come back and let's have another go round the merry-go-round of marriage and all this sort of stuff. Instead of that, you gave him what he asked for. So you didn't play the game right, Suzanne.
I gotcha.
And that's how you have to look at it. You have to look at it now as a game. Get in touch with your lawyer, find out what the limitation is, how long before you can move this forward without him, you know, responding. And I think you'll find he'll get that done before then anyway, because he already knows how long it is, and he's just going to string it out as long as possible. He's just doing this to get back at you. That's all. I just know that look, I would just send out positive energy to him that, you know, get on with your life, you know. I'd send that energy out to him, and that will hit him because he'll sort of feel all of a sudden that he doesn't have a connection with you anymore, Suzanne, that he wants to step forward, and that's an important thing.
Okay. I'll do that.
So good luck with that, and then you'll be able to get on with your life, and I know you're itching to do that, and there's some wonderful things coming up for you in the second half of this year, and I do actually see new love for you.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and he's a really, really, really nice man. About September onwards, a man with brown hair, green to hazily coloured eyes. He's got a cherub-looking face, and he's just got the nicest of energies, and he's just such a really lovely, kind, considerate, gentle man, but a strong man at the same time, who's just going to treat you like you're the only woman that's ever walked the earth, and that's beautiful. That's what you want it to be. Somebody that you can grow old with, and that's not.
Do I know this person now?
Pardon?
Do I know this person now?
No, I don't feel so. I feel he's new to come into your life.
Okay. Well, that's awesome to hear. Thank you so much.
Lovely to talk with you, Suzanne. We're going to go to Carrie now in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, USA. Are you there, Carrie?
Hello?
Hello, Carrie. How can I help you tonight, sweetie?
Yes, I was just calling to get a reading.
Yeah, do you have a question for me, though, sweetie?
Yeah, I just want to know about my love life.
Your love life, okay. First thing I'm picking up, Carrie, was there somebody that was in your life that didn't, the situation or the opportunity didn't work out the way that you wanted it to, like you never got the relationship off the ground? Was that just a recent thing?
Yes.
I'm not going to say that I think that's completely dead in the water yet. I still feel there's a slight possibility we might be able to sort of resurrect that in some sort of way. Let's just sort of say I don't think that's completely gone yet, but let's look at what I'm seeing over here on the other side as well. I am seeing another opportunity with a man to come into your life. I feel, within weeks now, you know, they keep showing me late April, early May. A very tall, dark-headed man with a bit of a wave in his hair, and he's got the most twinkly brown eyes. Very, very good looking. He's got the whitish sort of, you know, he's got the Caucasian skin, but he's got the very dark hair, very dark eyes, sort of Mexican looking, but with white skin, if that makes any sense. You know, those beautiful big brown eyes and the big smile and really, really nice energy around him. I feel that there's still the potential of the one that you were interested in that you've got the question marks around, but I'm just wondering whether or not he'll ever come forward. But then I've got that second one who comes in and he's fast, he's exciting, he's interesting to talk to, we have a lot of fun, and I think that's got real potential for a very long-term relationship as well. But are you also looking to change your job too, Carrie?
Okay.
Are you looking to change your job?
My job?
Yes.
No.
Because they're showing me a change of job coming up. So is that the potential of another position within the company you're working for, or a change altogether?
Well, right now I do home health, so it's like I help people.
Right.
But I plan on going back to school, like, for nursing.
Right. Okay, so if you plan to go back to school for nursing, is that soon? Is that before the middle of the year?
Yes.
Yeah, that to me would be presented to me as a change of job, because if you're going back to school to learn something that's going to put you into a position, that to me is like a change of job. Like, it's a change from what you're doing now. And to me, I thought it was before the middle of this year, and I was going to say it's very exciting. I feel very excited about this, and I feel that there's longevity there with that. Well, obviously, if you're going in to study to be a nurse, then hopefully we're going to get you out into the community and working in a hospital and helping people that you love to do. But would it be fair to say that there's going to be some part-time or some casual work at the same time as you're studying?
Yes.
Yeah, because I can still see money coming in, and I can still see things improving. Did you have a health issue last year that sort of zapped your energy?
Yes.
That still seems to be sort of slightly there. I'm not saying it, I don't think it's completely 100% fixed yet.
Okay. I do have a question.
Yes.
Okay, I have a fiance right now, but
Right.
there is a person in prison that I spent a lot of years with.
Right. I
You
don't
think I
feel
can let
either
that
of those
go?
are the man. I don't feel either of those are the new man that I saw coming in.
So what's that
I
mean?
could see somebody brand new coming towards you.
Okay.
But, let's just, you do what you feel is right for you. But I'm saying to you, I feel that there's a third situation coming with a new relationship with a man who I think is right for you. Anyway, Carrie, we're coming towards the end of the show, so I have to go now. Good luck with your future. Thank you very much for watching the show again this week. If you want to take advantage of purchasing something, head to my Facebook page, Amanda Hall Psychic. You'll see the link there to my website. Don't forget to type in the code word radio in capital letters. For those of you that want to learn a little bit more about emotional loss and grief, I will be doing a live Facebook mini workshop directly after this show in a few minutes. So for those of you that want to join us again next week, we'd love to have you. We're going to be wrapping up our 4-part series in health next week with Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces, and of course we'll have our Sibley Tarot card of the week, the candle of the week, and we'll have a little trip around the universe with astrology. Have a great week and keep smiling. Bye for now.